These are the secrets Nancy Rooks carried for 45 years, until she finally broke her silence about what really happened at Graceland on August 16, 1977. This is the untold story of Elvis Presley's death, told by the only maid present that tragic day, who died just one day before the anniversary of losing the king. Nancy Rooks was not just any employee at Graceland. For 15 years, she served as Elvis Presley's personal maid and cook, working the demanding 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift, often staying until 3 in the morning. She prepared his meals, laid out his clothes, cleaned his private quarters, and became one of the most trusted people in his inner circle. When she passed away on August 15, 2022, at age 84, she took with her intimate knowledge of Elvis's final years that no one else possessed. But here's what makes Nancy's story extraordinary. She had actually met Elvis decades before she ever set foot in Graceland. In the late 1940s, when she was just a young girl living on Alabama Street in Memphis, she witnessed something that would stay with her forever. Walking to the store one evening, she came across a crowd of children gathered around a barefoot boy in overalls, with one strap fastened and the other hanging loose, picking a guitar right there in the street. The children had blocked the road just to listen to him play. That barefoot boy was Elvis Presley. 20 years later, in May 1967, Nancy was working for a temporary agency when fate intervened. Another maid called in sick, and the agency sent Nancy to Graceland as a substitute. It was only when she was dusting a childhood photograph of Elvis that the memory came flooding back. She recognized that same boy from Alabama Street. The temporary job became permanent, and Nancy Rooks became part of the Presley family for the next 15 years. What Nancy witnessed during those years would challenge everything the public thought they knew about Elvis. She saw a man who was unfailingly polite, always saying please and thank you when asking for anything. She watched him slip $100 bills into her pocket with a smile, telling her not to say anything. She even sang hymns with him in his private quarters when his girlfriends went shopping, because Elvis told her he got lonesome and just wanted someone to talk to. Nancy's most profound revelations came about Elvis's final day. On August 16, 1977, she arrived for her evening shift and learned that Elvis had been in a terrible mood all day. He had a restless night, went out on motorcycle rides, tried unsuccessfully to rent an entire movie theater, and got into heated arguments with his fiancée, Ginger Alden, about whether she would accompany him on his upcoming tour. The tension was so thick that other staff members walked in on Elvis and Ginger arguing rather forcefully in Lisa Marie's bedroom in the early hours of the morning. This contradicts Ginger Alden's account, where she claimed that the final day was full of positivity and wedding planning. But Nancy was there, and she saw the reality behind Graceland's walls. Then came the moment that changed everything. Nancy was the one who answered the phone when Ginger called downstairs for help that afternoon. In her 2005 book Inside Graceland, Nancy revealed details she had kept secret for nearly 3 decades. When Ginger's desperate call came through, Nancy found herself alone. No other staff members were immediately available. So she made the decision that would haunt her forever. She went upstairs herself to assess the situation. What Nancy discovered in that upstairs bathroom was the king of rock and roll, dead on his bathroom floor. But her story does not end there. In the chaos that followed, as emergency responders rushed Elvis to Baptist Memorial Hospital, Nancy and Elvis's Aunt Delta May did something that would perplex investigators for years. They cleaned everything up. They removed Elvis's pills and needles. They changed his bed sheets. They scrubbed his bathroom spotless. They essentially erased any evidence of what Elvis's final moments might have looked like. When police and emergency medical technicians returned to Graceland later that day, they were baffled by how pristine everything appeared. Now we know why. Nancy and Aunt Delta had methodically cleaned away the scene. Even more revealing, Aunt Delta immediately locked off the entire upstairs area and kept the only key. For years, people wondered why Elvis's private quarters became so mysteriously inaccessible. Nancy's account finally provided the answer. Nancy's revelations went beyond that tragic day. She exposed the reality of Elvis's extraordinary appetite. Nancy described preparing his typical breakfast at 5 p.m., 3 or 4 eggs with cheese, onions, and stuffing, and an entire pound of bacon fried completely dry without any grease. That was 18 or 19 slices of bacon for one meal. She also revealed his obsession with meatloaf. Elvis once requested meatloaf daily for 6 months straight, and some accounts say it continued for 8 months. Nancy witnessed Elvis's joy when Lisa Marie was born on February 1, 1968. She was at Graceland when Elvis burst with excitement, so thrilled he could not even eat, and he declared they were going to have 20 children. Nancy later asked Priscilla about that ambitious proclamation. Priscilla laughed and said she would not be having any more children, that Elvis would be the one to have them. Tragically, Nancy observed Lisa Marie's transformation after her father's death. The little girl who had loved growing up at Graceland could no longer bear spending nights there. She would stay at her cousin Patsy's house instead, unable to cope with knowing her father had died upstairs in the very home where she had been so happy. Nancy wrote that she noticed a profound change in Lisa Marie whenever she visited after Elvis's passing. Most intriguingly, Nancy believed Graceland became haunted after Elvis's death. She reported unexplained phenomena that would make skeptics reconsider. Doors would slam with tremendous force when no one was around. Lights and objects in the trophy room would flicker on and off while she cleaned at night. She said she would playfully scold what she believed was Elvis's spirit, telling him to leave the lights alone so she could work. One particular incident convinced Nancy beyond doubt. While resting in the trophy room during her cleaning duties, she felt a gentle force wake her up, as if someone were nudging her to continue working. Nancy had no question in her mind. It was Elvis himself, still trying to keep his home running smoothly. Nancy believed Elvis was angry about Graceland being open to the public in 1982, which she said explained the door-slamming incidents. She felt he never wanted his private sanctuary turned into a tourist attraction, and that his spirit was making that displeasure known. For 26 years, Nancy remained loyal to the Presley family, continuing to work at Graceland even after Elvis's death. She helped transition the mansion when it opened for public tours in June 1982, and she finally retired after serving the Presleys for over a quarter century. During her later years, Nancy became an author, writing 3 books about her experiences. The Maid, The Man, and The Fans was published in 1984. The Presley Family Cookbook came out in 1990, co-authored with Elvis's uncle Vester. Her final book, Inside Graceland, Elvis's Maid Remembers, was published in 2005. Each book revealed more details she had previously kept private, showing how her comfort level with sharing Elvis's secrets evolved over time. Nancy's impact extended far beyond her employment at Graceland. Fans would approach her just to touch her hands because Elvis had touched her. She understood her unique role as a living connection to the king, and she embraced that responsibility with grace and dignity. Linda Thompson, one of Elvis's former girlfriends, maintained a friendship with Nancy for 45 years after Elvis's death, receiving Christmas cards from her every year. Linda described Nancy as kind, responsible, modest, and powerful. That description acknowledged the strength it took for a black woman in the South to hold such an influential position during that era. Nancy's grandson, Jesse Chisholm, who became a Tennessee state representative, credited his grandmother with showing him that we do not have to end where we start. Nancy had transformed herself from a substitute maid to a published author, leaving behind a legacy that extended far beyond her years of service to Elvis. The timing of Nancy's death adds an almost supernatural element to her story. She passed away on August 15, 2022, exactly one day before the 45th anniversary of Elvis's death. On the evening she died, thousands of Elvis fans were gathering at Graceland for the traditional candlelight vigil, lighting candles and singing his songs in honor of the entertainment legend who died on August 16, 1977. Nancy had frequently attended those vigils in her later years, right up until her health began failing. She remained connected to the Elvis community, understanding that her presence provided comfort to fans who saw her as their last tangible link to the king himself. What makes Nancy's story so compelling is not just what she revealed, but when she chose to reveal it. Her book, published in 1984, contained certain details, but her 2005 book, Inside Graceland, included claims and specifics she had never shared before, changing the narrative of Elvis's final day. Why did she wait 21 years to tell the complete truth? She needed that time to process the trauma. Or maybe she felt a responsibility to protect people who were still alive in 1984. Nancy Rooks represents something unique in Elvis history. She was working class, black, and female in an era and region where that combination typically meant invisibility. Yet she became one of the most trusted people in Elvis's life, someone he confided in, sang with, and treated as family. Her perspective offers a counter-narrative to the typical Elvis story told by white, male members of his Memphis mafia. Through Nancy's eyes, we see an Elvis who was genuinely kind and respectful, not the caricature of a spoiled celebrity. We see his loneliness, his need for simple human connection, his appreciation for the people who took care of him. We also see the darker realities, the mood swings, the excessive eating, and the prescription drug dependency that ultimately killed him. Most importantly, Nancy Rooks reminds us that the people who truly knew Elvis were not always the ones with recording contracts or book deals. Sometimes the most profound insights come from the person who made his meals, laid out his clothes, and was simply present during the quiet moments when the king of rock and roll was just a man who needed someone to talk to. Nancy Rooks kept Elvis's secrets for 45 years, until she finally chose to break her silence before taking her final secrets to the grave. Her complex, humanizing, and controversial legacy remains as the last close servant who claimed to hold the closest thing to the truth about what really happened at Graceland. Her voice offers us the closest thing we will ever have to the complete truth about what happened at Graceland on August 16, 1977, and what Elvis Presley was really like behind the legend. In the end, that is the most valuable gift any Elvis fan could ask for: the unvarnished truth from someone who was simply there, watching, caring, and remembering it all.